GBS.
The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Hello viewer, welcome to Chungu Jamii. My name is Betty Akuku and today I am joined by mediation experts. We have heard about many issues and many cases in our courts of law, but we have an alternative way to sort out issues out of courts. Today I would like to tell you more of that, and as you join us, please check on our Facebook channel, GBS TV Africa. We're also live on YouTube. And you could also watch us on GBS TV. I would like to introduce my guests, even as we talk about the alternative justice. Welcome.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Christine Gishure. I'm a certified professional mediator from Mediation Training Institute East Africa and also a leadership consultant.
Well, welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
You are a certified mediator.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of things are going on in families, in the society, and also in our nation as a whole. And lots of these things people do not know how to handle. You know, people go through issues in life, and the only way they want to correct is through going through a court of law. But we are talking about today the alternative justice. Please tell us what this is.
Thank you very much, Betty. You know, the Bible, I'm Christian, and says, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Okay.
Many of us probably do not lead, and that is why they do not know what alternative justice is. So from the word alternative, it means another way. Would we have another system?
Yes.
Would we have another process through which we are able to solve our disputes, our conflicts? And our constitution is very clear. If you read Article 159, 2C, clearly stipulates about the alternative justice system, which other people call the traditional dispute resolution mechanism. It actually stipulates that there is provision for mediation, arbitration, reconciliation, and other traditional forms that are recognized. Previously, again, if you go to Article 48, it talks about access to justice. And access to justice, in my view, is not just about getting to the nearest court, whether resident magistrate, whether high court or wherever. It also means you going to court and having your matter determined in the right way. So the alternative justice is enshrined in either of the three that I have mentioned above, and they are usually structured processes whereby you don't have to go to court before a judge, and you don't have to go to court where there is a lawyer or there is a magistrate.
I like that. I wonder whether there is any awareness going on outside there, because what people know is someone has an issue with you, whatever kind of case, you will take it to be resolved at the level of the court of law. But you are talking about a system, an alternative system, an alternative way of resolving this and talking about it, humanly speaking. You know, what are some of these systems? I had you mention arbitration, mediation, and reconciliation. Please tell us about those things, if they actually work, because I guess if someone hits another person's car or goes to your farm and steals some produce, you know, you can still sit and talk and you can reconcile and that will be it, you know. Why do we have another system in existence?
I like what you say, two key things, human and the fact that people will always say, I'm taking this matter to court. Actually, you'll hear some people say, wewe tupatane kotini, na nitahakikisha umefungwa, na funguo za kule gerezani mimi mwenyewe nitazichukua na nisitupe msituni. Yet, this person probably has even no bus fare to reach the nearest court. Now, mediation is very, very human. One, because a neutral third party, neutral meaning this is somebody who even declares I have no conflict of interest. I do not know party A or party B. Either one of the disputants will approach the mediator or the mediator will be referred by a CBO or by the court to come and mediate your case. I am saying this person is neutral because the person has no interest. Normally when people have conflict, they are either taking positions or they have their own interests on particular issues, and then there is the emotional aspect.
Yes.
Mediation considers more the interests and the emotions of the particular disputants. Therefore, this person will come and facilitate, help you reach a mutual agreement. In the community, we have been neighbors for 10 years. We don't have to fight because your cow strayed into my farm. Or probably because your child, when he was playing football with my child, probably broke my window as a neighbor.
Yeah.
And therefore, it is possible that people can sit together and meditate. The beauty is you are given the opportunity to talk your issues one-on-one. Unlike in court, whereby you get a lawyer, and even if you attend the court proceedings, you just listen. And maybe because you are not trained in legal matters, you have no idea the kind of jargons that are being thrown. Mediation is very simple because this mediator simply helps you people come to an amicable solution to be able to progress your future relationships. And the person, the mediator, does not decide for you the way to go. It focuses on a win-win situation for either party. With arbitration, we still have a third party, yes. But the difference between mediation and arbitration is the third party comes with a preconceived mind. This arbitrator comes and knows this is how I'm going to decide on this case of Betty.
Okay.
So it is the arbitrator who actually tells you the way forward.
So the arbitrator kind of takes sides.
Takes, not only taking sides, but even maybe takes you through a road that you'd have otherwise not wished to go. Because he will look at the two issues and tell them, can we go this way? Let me give you a little example. When we had the post-election violence in Kenya 2008, and you remember there were so many people, eminent people, dignified Africans coming into our country. And we had one, may he rest in peace, who came and eventually said, I think this is the way Kenya should go.
Yes.
And we were like, yay, at last we've had a mediator. In my view, and I started to be corrected, this person was actually an arbitrator and not a mediator. Because we should be around the two of us to come together and resolve our own issues. We've been neighbors for many years.
Yes.
You will leave us either fighting forever or probably united. And the most important thing is for us to be able to be united. Reconciliation, again, is near mediation because we want at the end of the day these people to come back to how they were before and continue. And there are people who may not give an apology because that is one way of reconciliation.
Yes.
We have also what we say probably pay a set amount of money, restorative justice, or probably giving something. I know of a CEO who was not in very good books with his junior, but somehow through the other junior staff learned that the son of this junior staff they were in conflict with had a birthday party. So secretly, he decided to travel all the way to the home where the party was, with a very nice birthday card, and because the conflict was over salary arrears and increment, he already had an envelope touched up.
Yeah.
So surely, Betty, even if it was you, when you see your boss coming in, and here is a cake, you didn't even expect him, and
you just bend low.
The dispute has been resolved because if the issue was salary arrears, you have already got it. So there are people who make gestures, reconciliatory. We call them conciliatory gestures. Others will make apologies.
Christine, you know, talking of the number of years people have coexisted, you know, in a neighborhood or in a community, it's actually like the first thing people do. You know, we try to sort it out and talk it out. And just if I find that you are too high up there, that I can't reach you to have a conversation, you know, then the court is the only next thing left for me. Because not all people are able to stoop low to just have a conversation and try to clear this, you know. Why must you have a mediator? What is the importance of having that mediator? Because I have to look at who am I going to call in to look at this case. You know, you could probably be coming from that community to be able to sort it out. And if I have had issues before with my neighbors, then you already have a preview of me, and so you want to take this case a particular way because you already know me, you know. So who is the one who qualifies to be a mediator?
Thank you. And before I answer in terms of who qualifies, 3 things come to my mind. Emotions run high when there is conflict.
True.
A lot of people emit a lot of negative energy.
Yes.
And you can quarrel, and you're not quarreling around the conflict. Number 2, there is the issue of lack of power balance. Maybe the person who is minting words one after the other feels, yes, I'm in control. I'm able to say 1, 2, 3 things, and the other person is humble. The other person is not able to jump as high as you can. And that is why now a mediator comes in. Because 1, a mediator should be professionally trained.
Okay.
And not just trained, but certified. And not just trained and certified, but trained and certified by a credible institution like Mediation Training Institute East Africa. We are now going international, I thank God. Yes, because you ought to be trained by qualified people. People who are well experienced, people who will teach you on the right communication tools, people who will teach you on the right techniques of how to ask questions, of how to reframe, on how to keep informing you and reminding you. People who will know that I don't also have to put myself into the emotions of these people. Somebody who will know that when I'm meeting these people to mediate, I have to meet them in a neutral venue, a safe venue. I have to have ground rules, and I will tell them this particular kind of ground rules, and we have to agree before we go forward.
So do you have to write things? Because being human and being lovers of ourselves, you know, today I can speak something and tomorrow that story has changed, you know. So it's just someone who follows you and ensures that this is what we agreed, this is what you said. Isn't there too much back and forth when it comes to mediation? Because, you know, at least in a court of law, the judge says and it's final. You know, the lawyer says, and it's according to the law. You have a place of reference. You have a place to check. You have broken this law, and this is the punishment, you know. In mediation, isn't there too much back and forth, like, today I want to change, I'm not available tomorrow for that meeting? What are the cost implications as well?
Well, so many questions in one. I hope I can handle and remember them. Number 1, let me say this, that there isn't a lot of back and forth. If you compare court cases that have been running in different courts in Kenya, I think the few are determined in less than 3 years. Very few, significant, very few. So there isn't a lot of back and forth in mediation. Number 2, yes, the judge, the lawyer follows facts, evidence, and law.
Yes.
And you don't question.
Yes.
So you leave aggrieved. Your emotions are still high. The courts are about winner and loser. But in mediation, we are focusing on win-win situation for peaceful coexistence in the future. Number 1, if a case is referred to me, I'll have to do a lot of background check.
Okay.
Because I need to be knowledgeable on the particular matter. Number 2, I do what we call pre-mediation. Pre-mediation is before I put you to table, lest you start poking each other's ears.
Yes.
I'll do pre-mediation, which you also have to read and assent to, that indeed we have agreed. Just like I told you about the ground
Shuttle
rules,
diplomacy.
then I'll also have to do shuttle diplomacy and meet you separately before I bring you onto table. There are 2 ways when I finally decide to bring you on table. Either I'll start with a joint meeting, and in this joint meeting, I'll introduce myself and even ask you whether you know me. I will say about my conflict of interest, whether they are there or not.
Yes.
If they are there, I'm not the right person to actually handle this particular case.
Yes.
Then I'll give you the ground rules. If probably there isn't a lot of negative emotional energy, we can start with a joint session where the two of you come together and you I give each party an opportunity, equal airtime. Let me use that one because you're on air.
Yes.
So if party A, I'll give you 5 minutes to say why we are here. I'll also give party B 5 minutes, but not about 10 minutes for you and 5 minutes or 20
Just
for the
on that,
person.
Christine, do you charge, should the mediator charge the disputants? Because I could be in a position to pay you $10, 1,000 shillings, and the other person has like 5,000 to pay. So you could move to their favor because they have a huge wallet.
Now, let me continue my thought process from where I was so that I also tell you about the fee. We have a professional code of ethics that every professionally certified mediator subscribes to. That you don't wake up and get the 5 shillings from this person and the $3 or 4 euros from the other person. It's not like that. But following my presentation from where I was before is that another way is that we have what we call caucuses. That is, these two people have a lot of emotions. I can't bring them to a joint session together. So I'll meet you separately and I'll meet the other party separately. And when the negative energy has de-escalated and you're all sober, I bring you on table. Or I could start the other way. I begin with the caucus and then with the joint. Coming to the issue of the fee, yes, there is a fee that is commonly agreed upon. And number 2, the two parties agree. If it is the individuals who came to you, they were not referrals. Because like I'll talk later, something to do with the court annexed kind of mediation, whereby these people are referred to you. It is not a fee that if you compare to what you're going to be charged in court, the number of years it's going to take, it is, I would say it's negligible. And I'll give you examples. I have known people who have gone to court over succession issues, issues of inheritance. Probably they are fighting over a small piece of land that daddy left behind. And what they do to facilitate the court process, they get a piece of it, sell it to go and pay the lawyer. Then the case stays in court, they cut another piece. By the time they're done with the entire piece, they have actually not finished the court, has not determined the matter, they have not finished the court process, and the parcel of land is over. Therefore, whatever fee is charged, number 1 is negligible, number 2, it is agreed upon, and there is even a form they feel, even on the settlement, that at the end of it, whether it is shuttle diplomacy, whether it is joint session, whether it is caucus or all of them, at the end of the day, the parting shot as they are going home, there is what we call a settlement agreement that they sign.
That is easily said than done. Because we live in a corrupt society where people are influenced by anything extra. So if I can just follow you back and tap your back and say, I can give an extra $1,000, you want to take it up and flow this to my favor. It happens even in our courts of law where we have everything legal, where we have, everything open. It still does happen, Where is the guarantee that we better do this outside of courts?
Let me begin by saying this. Number 1, for you to be a professional certified mediator, you have to be a person of credibility. And credibility is about my background check. Am I able to do, I would say, a SWOT analysis of myself? Am I the kind of person who we will agree here that you'll pay me probably 50,000 shillings for this process? And let me tell you also, the amount of money chargeable does not directly go to the mediator.
Okay.
It's about the venue. You know, you're taking them far. If probably it is a couple in dispute, you're not just going to their home and try to settle it there. It is their usual environment. You will take them to some place far away so that they focus on the issue at hand. You'll want to play them some music because, like I told you, you must be knowledgeable and you must have done some research about this problem. So probably you'd want to know what kind of music did he like when you were dating, or did she like when you were dating? And at some moment, probably of a break, you will play that music. You may not have the music yourself. You will need refreshments. It probably be a case whereby they're going to travel or to sleep over. So when you compare the amount of expenses vis-a-vis the amount charged and the court, you'll find that mediation is a good way to go. And again, having a rider onto that, you will realize that in most cases, in mediation, we do not have, the people who are coming on to it are people who feel, number one, we need to sort this thing here and now. Or like yesterday, as many people say. And I know many people who have been through court many years, and eventually they themselves decide to go for mediation. I talked about a credible person. The credibility of the institution where you are coming from or where you are trained also matters. Because remember, there is also accreditation for the mediators. So it is possible that if you follow me, someone will know, or you will tell your friend, guess what, she's a quack. And that word will go around to the president of my organization and at FTI, or probably where I'm working, where I'm hired from, and either I'll be deregistered or I'll be sending a bad name. Indeed, there are people who go out for money. Indeed, there are people who feel this is a better way to get money. But let me tell you, at the end of the day, you'll find that these people, the two disputants, in most cases end up in court. Again, they take their matter to court, or they will go to the referral. If you are referred by court or by a CBO or probably an agency that knows you, they'll go back there and say, this person is not straight, because apart from the settlement agreement, apart from the fee that we had signed, this person is asking for extra. Actually, this person made a phone call to me and was asking, can we meet at the cafe at 4 o'clock?
So that gets us to, where do I get a mediator? Because if I have disputes, in the community, I probably have no money to go to a court of law, to pay a lawyer, and all this process, and the time as well is not to my convenience, So where do I get a mediator? You have mentioned the CBO, and I'm thinking, do all the CBOs have the mediator? Do I have to get that from a court of law, so that I'm also sure that this person is focused and this person is not going to be relying on just one side?
Thank you. Like I earlier said, many people do not know that there are mediation processes. Number two, not many CBOs, NGOs, not many workplaces have mediators. But I can tell you one thing. Through mediation training of East Africa, a lot of companies, a lot of employers are now saying we need to build the capacity for a few of our people to become mediators, so that if we have conflict at the workplace, we will be able to have them other than taking our matter to court. There are those who do not know, and that is why they will always rush to court, because that is the commonly agreed or known area where disputes can be resolved. You talked about the issue of money. There are so many trained, professional, qualified mediators out there, including me, who are willing to do pro bono services. There's so many, because I will not be happy if there is a neighbor who is probably a young man in campus and comes from campus at 10 p.m. and is playing his loud music at night, and I know my neighbor who has a 2-month baby is getting aggrieved. There is no way surely I'll sit and just listen to this one making noise, or probably this with a 2-month-old baby telling the landlord, I want to shift because of 1, 2, 3 things. There are many people of goodwill. So it may not necessarily be an issue of money, but the most important thing is, can people know that
That there's
mediation can
existence.
work.
Yes.
If in all communities we will be able to know that, then we would live peacefully. That is number one. Even our places of worship, we tell them, we tell the clergy, the religious clergy, we tell them, we want to train you because there are so many interests, there are so many interested persons in places of worship. Can we train a few of your people? If we do it like the mustard seed, one person spreads in his information about mediation, and the other one does so many people know it. And actually, let me remind you of one thing. In August this year, despite COVID-19, the president of the judiciary was actually talking about decongesting the courts.
Yeah. True.
And now maybe, I don't know whether the time is right for me to talk about the court annexed mediation. Because there are so many cases that have lamped for years. Many people continue going for hearing, for mention, no hearing.
Yes.
So there is a need, and it has proven, to try and decongest. And we are having what we call court annexed mediation.
Okay, Christine, we're going to get to the court annexed mediation and decongesting. Before that, I'd like us to take a break. And please, when you come back, talk about that, and also talk about the types of cases that you are allowed to mediate on, lest I kill my neighbor and just say, I will call Christine. She's my friend and she's a mediator.
I will not come, no matter how much I love you, Betty.
We are taking a short break. Coming back just now, we are talking about the alternative justice. I know for sure you don't probably have all the money to follow up cases in a court of law, and you probably have not heard about alternative justice, but we are here today to tell you about that. Join us shortly, coming back just now.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ruben West.
I'm Dr. Charles Mukuka
From the United States of America.
I come from Ethiopia.
from Zambia.
I love Kenya very much.
I love the Kenyan people.
Love is not by confession. Love is by action.
Come on now.
When you are a husband, you are not a husband.
It's very important.
You can count the seeds in an apple, but you can never count the number of apples in a seed.
Her phone is her phone. My phone is my phone.
You only know what you know.
Who forced you?
The more you spend time together, the more strong.
A woman is like a Bible.
To tell me that they were born and it wasn't from a female, I'd like to know.
A woman, she's a good asset. And a woman, she's a very, very good investment.
김치를 못 먹은 이유가 위궤양이니까 거기다가 죽만 먹어도 쓸쓸한데 김치 먹으면 죽지 죽어요.
The reason why I couldn't eat kimchi for 3 months is because even if I eat the porridge, I have diarrhea. I'm gonna die if I eat kimchi.
그래 내가 이제 김치를 못 먹는 이렇게 배가 아프기 때문에 김치를 못 먹는데
And the reason why I couldn't eat the kimchi was because my stomach was hurting.
내가 김치 내 배가 나았다고 믿으면
But if
김치를 먹어야 하는 거예요.
But if I believe that my stomach is healed, then I have to eat the kimchi.
왜 김치를 못 먹는 배가 아프기 때문에 못 먹으니까.
Why? Because the reason why I couldn't eat it was because my stomach was hurting.
성경에 다 낫게 해줄 테니까 믿어라 하면 다 낫게 하면 믿지 말아도 잘 믿죠.
And so let's say the Bible says, I'm going to heal you, so believe it. Then I will believe it no matter what.
성경에는 아직 낫지 않았는데
But then the Bible is saying it's not healed yet.
하면 낫게 할 줄 믿고 낫다고 믿으라는 거예요.
But it's saying that believe that God will heal you and believe it.
지금 배가 아픈데
And my stomach is hurting now.
낫다고 믿고
But if you believe that you're
하면
healed,
낫는데요.
and then you're healed.
My name is Tegist Hailu.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ruben West.
I'm Dr. Charles Mukuka
From the United States of America.
I come from Ethiopia.
from Zambia.
I love Kenya very much.
I love the Kenyan people.
Love is not by confession. Love is by action.
Come on now.
When you are a husband, you are not a husband.
It's very important.
You can count the seeds in an apple, but you can never count the number of apples in a seed.
Her phone is her phone. My phone is my phone.
You only know what you know.
Who forced you?
The more you spend time together, the more strong.
A woman is like a Bible.
To tell me that they were born and it wasn't from a female, I'd like to know.
A woman, she's a good asset. And a woman, she's a very, very good investment.
Everywhere GBS.
Welcome back, viewer. I am with Christine here talking about the alternative justice. So before we went on a break, Christine, we wanted to know what are the types of cases that you would not take for mediation, that you just have to take to a court of law, however much you love mediation. And please talk to us also about the court's annexed mediation.
Okay, thank you. Let me begin with those that you wouldn't take to court.
Yeah.
One, generally speaking, matters of crime.
You didn't take for mediation.
However, there is an exception to that because there is a case whereby a gentleman by the name of Mohammed Abdi, now the killing that you mentioned, killed a neighbor. And in this community, there is a traditional system for dispute resolution. So they were there, sat together, and they were like, I think if you paid 90 camels, it would be good to go. Unfortunately, later the matter was referred to court. And the judge who listened, before he determined the case, he actually asked that the ruling that had been made by the Wazers, he would like to hear, he would like to know, and how the process went on. And actually, he used that to rule and determine his own case, though it was a murder case, an exception. I'm not saying that people should go out killed because they know they will.
Yeah.
Criminal matters, matters of fraud. You earlier talked about probably patting your back on somebody else and maybe giving a few extra coins for the fee for the settlement.
Yes.
Fraud issues, then it would mean the mediator is part and parcel of that process that led to the fraud. Robbery with violence, capital offenses, even like people who want to go against the government. But a lot of civil matters where it's me and you.
Family.
The issue of neighbor.
Yeah.
The issue of workplace. The issue whereby people feel we are tired, we have had a strained relationship, and now we need to sort this out once and for all. The issue of insurance companies.
Yes.
You know, if you have a vehicle, and I do believe you do, if you are hit by a matatu, assuming that the same matatu is licensed.
Yes.
So here we have your insurer versus the other insurer. This is a case of Solomon versus Solomon. And they will continue now taking this matter, dragging it almost forever. So it is easier that for automobiles, for insurance, it is possible also for mediation to take place. Places of worship. Let me narrow down to where we are now, particularly in learning institutions. We have what we call peer mediation.
Okay.
Number one, that at the school level, whether it is upper primary, whether it is secondary school or in colleges, that a few people are identified, but with the permission of their parents. With the permission of their parents. Why? Because they'll be sitting to judge little things of he took my shirt, my biro, I don't know, my shoe brush, and things like that. So the parents have to okay that.
They have become mediators subconsciously.
You went to school to mediate and not learn.
Yes.
And number two, they may not necessarily be in the mainstream prefect body. Now, when you train them, they are able to negotiate because actually the sister name for mediation is assisted negotiation. So they're able to negotiate among themselves at the peer level. Come a time when one or two or three of them think of probably having a strike, think probably of burning up the dome, think probably of we are not going to eat the meal tonight, then there will be people who will sit them down and reason. So when we have peer mediation in schools on small issues, it prepares them, it equips them with the necessary skills, the necessary knowledge and attitudes that eventually when there is something big happening in school, hoping it doesn't happen, then they will be in a position to negotiate that doesn't happen.
I have a few people asking me questions over here. Before I'll read them out to you, as you're talking, I'm thinking about what's happening currently about Nyumba Kumi. And I'm like, was that part of the court annexed mediation? Was it a way to try and also decongest the courts and just say, you know, in Nairobi, we may not have a village elder because today you're living in this estate and tomorrow you're living in another. So wherever you live, can we have some Nyumba Kumi around you where we know who you are? Was that an initiative of the court trying to decongest and have small matters handled at the community level?
I'll say yes and no.
Okay.
Because there are very few who have been trained, including even those wazees who say, we are the ones who handle dispute in this village,
Yes.
in this community. Yet when you ask them how they handle,
Yeah.
you realize that these ones don't mediate. Actually, these
They
people,
arbitrate.
they arbitrate, or they are like just a kangaroo court out there. I would say a capital yes,
Yeah.
if I'm certain that the members of this Nyumba Kumi, irrespective of where it is, rural or urban, that they have gone through a training on the basics.
That is the most important thing.
Yes.
Because otherwise I only arbitrate and otherwise I only take sides, you know, which is more harmful. Because if we have a dispute and I know for sure that I am innocent on this, then I follow up and find that you are closer to the village elder. No wonder it was judged to your favor. You know, it leaves me more bitter. It leaves me more bitter.
Exactly.
Someone is asking
and it could
me,
even be, the village elder could be your relative.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Relative to one of the disputants.
and that's why I asked you about the CBOs, the community-based organizations. Yes. Are they in all our societies, and are they trained to carry out such kinds of tasks? Or is it just about relationships? I know this home has been accused of this home is not cooperative when it comes to the village development and stuff like that, you know. They can easily also compromise and lose their credibility.
Let me tell you something, Betty. It depends on the exposure, the level of exposure.
Okay,
of
so you
those
still
who are
come
in
back
that-
to training.
Yeah, training is very critical. We can't get out of it. And before you ask me a question, you had asked one reversing back to the issue of the court annexed system. Like I told you, a lot of family, actually the family division in the High Court, like I said, a lot of family matters are very emotional.
Okay.
Are very difficult to handle family matters. Why? Because these people are related by blood or by marriage. At the end of the day, I know people who have even tried to mediate a couple, and 6 months down the line, you see them walking the streets, and you are like,
you meditate that you are the enemy.
Yes. So they are usually very, very difficult. But the beauty about it is the court annexed takes the family issues as very, very private.
Okay.
And not because in a normal courtroom, they are varied people, different people. So you can imagine a family that has a case of custody of children, and you're even parading the children before other people whose matter was not this, that you are here. They are waiting for their file to be around, and so that their case can be mentioned or their hearing can be done. You stigmatize those children. So
I know, very sad.
That is
but
why,
Christine, let me ask, if you have taken your matter to the court of law, and at some point you just realize, you know what, we can handle this outside, you know, behind, it doesn't have to be behind bars.
Yeah.
Do you as a disputant go to speak to whoever is concerned and say, can you allow us to do this outside of court? Or who determines?
Indeed, what
Who
you do,
determines? Yeah.
assuming you had a lawyer, and you have this case in court, irrespective. It could be the neighbor,
Yes.
a victim offender of whatever kind. It could be a boss versus the junior. If you had a lawyer, you'll go to the lawyer and say, I wish to withdraw.
Okay.
I wish to withdraw this case. Even in mediation, there are some people who will take along their lawyers with them. But we don't allow them to come in fully, because again, a lot of judges, sorry to say this, a lot of magistrates, a lot of lawyers are not trained on the concept of mediation. But in the case that they come for mediation, then what you say, and particularly if the two disputants come from different ethnic backgrounds, where maybe the language they are using may not be understood.
Yeah.
So what we do is that the one disputant talks, and then the lawyer of disputant B interprets. That allows that no one will actually put his own words in the mouth of the disputant. But in most cases, we prefer that it is the disputants who come in the absence of their lawyer.
Okay, so Christine Wangoi Nduta is watching, and she is concerned that this process may be expensive, and what is the success rate?
Thank you. Wangoi, my sister, I would like to tell you that it is not expensive. One, remember we talked about the advantages of mediation. We said that it is flexible. You agree on the timing. The parties and the mediator. What time do we meet? When are we going to meet? Is it next week? What time for how long? Okay? And therefore, you are able to carry on your day-to-day business. You're able to go to your place of work or on your farm. Because if we have to talk about expensive, do we also take into consideration the time we use going to court, the fare we pay going to court, the amount of time that we are told the case has been adjourned or it was not even mentioned because one disputant did not turn up? It is not expensive because I said that the disputants negotiate and agree with the mediator the fee.
Okay.
Nothing is cast on stone. So she should not be afraid. And if she looks for me, if she has
their success rates at least.
And again, let me say this, the success rates are there. Because contrary to court processes whereby it's about winner, loser. And remember I said, people have their own positions because of the perspectives. Now I think your juice is more than mine, depending on probably how I view your glass and where it is and from wherever I am. The positions that people hold. Then there is the issue of the interests, and there is the emotional aspect. Mediation will be focused more on the emotions and interests because it is interest-based. Is there a fair share? And at the end of the day, it is aimed at a win-win. Win-win.
Okay. Beatrice Njeri, thank you also for watching. Your question is, Kenyans' ego is too high. Mediation is uzungu, you know, the Western thing. And it's like therapy. How can Kenyans normalize the professional conflict resolution?
I thank her. I thank her. And I think she's right in what she says.
It's a westernized
thing. Because not westernized. Let me begin from where she said it is
like therapy.
Uzungu.
Yes.
I begin from there and I say, how are we socialized? First, I would like to ask, did we have traditional systems of dispute resolution mechanisms in whichever community? We talk of, I've worked and schooled in Meru many years. Actually, I always say it is my county number 2 from where I'm born. And you know very well they have the Njorenjeke. People in Meru have grown to know there is a Njorenjeke who sit and determine. Do the Kikuyus probably of central Kiambu County know that there is a traditional system resolution mechanism where I can go to? Like the Rwandese know there is a Gashasha system. Do the Luos or the Iluyas know? Yes, they know some of them, but because of not being equipped with the right communication and negotiation techniques, many of them may not do it the right way. And I would want to say it is not Uzungu, it is not westernized. We negotiate daily. I go to the market and I'm told this cabbage is 10 bob. I'll negotiate and say, why not sell to me at 5 bob? We negotiate daily. So can we carry that negotiation a notch higher and take it to a place and say, we don't want to wash our dirty linen in public? Surely I cannot go to court to try and say, you know, my boss, you know, he did or he didn't. I don't want to do that because tomorrow we will meet either at the same place in the streets or in another company. It may not be Uzungu. Let me say it is that our people probably 10 years down the line have not been able to contextualize.
And there's no awareness also.
It is there in our constitution. And humbly let me say this. If our people were very much in search of knowledge, would all of us have gone, since 2010, would all of us have gone into the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. But as one person said, if you want Kenyans not to know anything, hide it in a book, then that is why many of us do not know. But I agree with her 100% that it is a therapy. And that is why I said, if one disputant is very angry, do the caucusing, where you're meeting them separately, or you do the shuttle diplomacy. Wait until that angry, negative energy de-escalates. That now they sober up to meet on the table. But I tell you, it is a therapy. Quite true.
Cynthia Munjari, wants to know that this looks like a win-win situation. Is there a time, most of the time it's just about winning and not finding a solution. Is that true about
There are times when you don't win, my dear. I will tell her that. And there are times when the parties disagree entirely. There are times when they even don't sign the settlement because the settlement agreement is put in their words, in their thinking. How do you want us to finalize this? But there are those who will still feel, I think I was cheated, I think I was cornered. Remember what I earlier talked about power balancing? Remember I talked about perspectives and positions?
Yeah.
There are times whereby you don't win. That they will decide, I think now we are going to court or we are even going to look for another mediator. So we would not say that it is always 100%. But for those people who are focused for mutual relationship, I'll give you an example. In one village that grows a lot of bananas. So this neighbor has his plant, unfortunately near a fence. And as it grows, it begins to bend onto the neighbor.
And the fruits go to the other side.
And they go to the other side. And I am hungry. And probably I say, socioculturally,
Yes.
no one was ever taken to court for food. That is how I grew up knowing that chakula hakuna kuuliza na hakuna kusema hutapatia mtu.
Yes.
So this one decides to get a bunch.
Yes.
And the neighbor the other side now decides to run.
Yes.
Quarrels and there is no answer and decides to go to court. Fortunately, they know of a mediator. And the mediator is simple. How much were the bananas? 50 bob. How long have you lived together? Actually, we are here 20 years as neighbors. Are you going to ruin everything for the 20 years because of the 50 bob bananas? So, in short, what I'm trying to say is that there are more success rates than failure. There are more success rates than failure. If only people would embrace it, if only people would go into a mediation table in terms of these are the interests and not the positions or perspectives from which you are looking at something. And then another critical thing, where there are failures, and we have seen it even internationally, like the cases of Southern Sudan, it is if you bring the wrong people on the negotiation table. And I can tell you this, my sister, if, for example, in the case of a workplace conflict, if you're not bringing the supervisor, if you're probably not bringing the HOD, because in most cases, or you're not bringing the CEO, because in most cases, a lot of CEOs are told by their juniors, it is well, it is well, it is well. Very few of them will go and say, Bona CEO, this cannot work because of 1, 2, 3. You are afraid of being fired. So if you bring the right people on the table, and that is why actually you should have an authority. If, for example, it is a case of succession, you are coming on behalf of your siblings, we will need to know, do you have authority to settle this matter? So the failure will come, one, if you're taking, the disputants are taking positions. Number two, if you're not bringing the right people on the table.
Cynthia is still concerned about the way our courts are failing because we are taking even simple matters through very complex procedures. And at this point, because you're out of time, I'll probably get to know, you have mentioned a few advantages of having the court annexed or the alternative justice versus having the process through the court of law. You have mentioned about the cost, you have mentioned about the time, you have mentioned about the procedures, and now there's the complexity of it. And thinking about the example you have given about the banana and the piece of land and whatnot, it allows you to kind of be able to think deeply and soberly other than just rushing into something, because it's so easy. You'll get angry and emotions run high whenever there are disputes. So you just run into a court of law. But when somebody comes and says, hey, look here, you have been living together 20 years, just a bunch of bananas, then you realize it's just 50 bob and you're like, seriously? I should have thought about this. I don't know if you have any last advantage, even as you give to us your last words.
Thank you very much. Actually, this is too wide. We could talk until cows come home. But let me say this. There is need for public awareness on mediation vis-a-vis court processes. Once our people are educated into that, they will embrace it more. Number two, we need to have policies in either working institutions that they could have a mediation department so that they settle issues arising in that particular workplace are settled there, whether it is the insurance or the construction industry, like I said, our clergy, which is the best pulpit, we should make sure that we sensitize our people often. I want to believe people are going to embrace it. My own teacher, whom I'm very proud of, James Magerere, who is actually the president of Mediation Training Institute, East Africa, is among the 4 key recognized mediators, master mediators in the world, not only Africa. And he's been traveling world over, thanks to COVID, that he's now
he's available.
And he's a good teacher. I salute you, Mwalimu. He's been able to do that. And I can tell you one thing. In one of the places where he went to mediate, actually it was here in Kenya, that there was a mediation conference. And he was having his. And somebody else from another country was having his. A few of his people decided to go to the other one, probably because they felt this one will teach us better. Unfortunately, this other one had been trained by my own teacher. And lastly, this other one, I don't want to mention the name list, I'm accused of racism, invites my teacher to come and say goodbye as these people are having their final meeting, and then introduces, this was my teacher. Were it not for him, I would not know about mediation. So going back even to one of those who had asked a question, it is not a foreign concept. Are we able to utilize those who are in our country who have already learned? And as I wind up, I would want to tell people, God put us in this world with one DNA. Our blood is the same. You're either A or B plus or O. And it doesn't matter from whom you are transfused from. We are meant to live in peace.
And the solution must not just come from the court of law. It can come from a mediator.
Indeed.
I can see Peris Warimo, even as we wind up, is saying that she feels she's very good at resolving conflicts. And so she's asking, how does one become a mediator? But thinking, if I had you clearly earlier, you had mentioned about training. So it's not just looking at yourself and thinking that you are able to do that. Is that one of the reasons how you qualify?
Number one, you may have innate inborn abilities.
Okay.
Number two, they need to be sharpened through a process of training for you to be qualified, and so that as you go out, then people can say, yes, this is a professionally certified mediator. People can reach me on my Facebook page, Christine Gishure. I don't know whether you allow people here to give their contact.
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
We could, because we are aiming at giving us a solution.
Thank you.
Yes.
So you could reach me on my Facebook page, Christine Gishure, or on my mobile number, 0721 685 240. 0721 685 240. Thank you. Let's all mediate. Let us all build the kingdom of God together, a peaceful kingdom. Thank you, and thank you for hosting me for this show, Betty.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. It was good to have you. Thank you, viewer. I am glad that many of you have been watching and sending in your comments. I apologize that I wasn't able to get to all of them, but I hope that you have gotten solutions, even as Christine was sharing with us. I hope you find means of alternative justice. She mentioned mediation, arbitration, and reconciliation. Find out what works for you, and just ensure that you end up in the hands of the right person, not just a quack in the name of mediation. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Betty Akuku. I have been your host.